Happy Wednesday and welcome to day 3 of our self-care challenge. So today on the challenge, we are going to talk about motivation. And motivation in the way that I talk about this in terms of self-care is really understanding your why. Why do you want to have a self-care practice? What has led you to this point where you feel like, okay, I need to have a self-care practice. I need to figure it out. What is your why? And the reason that is so important, it kind of gives you an anchor to keep going back to. So, for example, if you feel that you don't have a self-care practice and it makes you feel overwhelmed or it makes you feel frustrated, then your why can be that you want to change how you feel. If you feel that you are maybe snapping at your spouse, snapping at the kids constantly because you feel burned out, then that's an idea of motivation. What I want you to do today is basically take a few minutes and ask yourself, how do you feel right now? And then think of you maybe in 6 months with a consistent self-care practice. Like you have a self-care practice that's on your calendar, you do it every day or whatever interval you do it at. How does that person feel? Then I want you to write that list of how you feel today and then how future you feels. And then ask yourself what decisions you can make to get to point future you. So a good way to think about this is, let's say future you schedules, therapy every 2 weeks or once a month. So future you then feels that she has a place to go and express how she feels and has a sounding board, and therefore she's able to show up better for herself. So that's just, a simple example. And one of the reasons why I want you to kind of have a you is the why for you is the idea of creating what your bottom line is. And I learned about this from Ali Kasaza of the Purpose Show. She's amazing, by the way. Check her out if you haven't seen her on social. And she talks about your bottom line. Like, what are the things that need to happen every single day for you to be the best version of yourself? And so let's say, for example, for me, I know that if I wake up in the morning and I do my gratitude practice and I write down my affirmations, I have the best day. And so for me, my bottom line is I will not leave the house unless I do these 2 things. And then another thing for me is making my bed, which sounds really silly, but it just puts me in a good mood because I know I'm going to come back and the bed's going to be made. And one of the things that this has been interesting is that my husband is aware of that. And so if I leave the house like in a huge rush, he always makes the bed. And I love that. I mean, and it came with I would complain about it, and he understands why it means a lot to me to make the bed, so he does it. But it just puts me in a good mood. So that's an example. What I also want you to think about as you work on your why and understanding how you want to show up for yourself is the idea of what your values are. And values are kind of a thing I think we talk about, especially in the workplace, like what are your values? I was challenged in a course that I took that had actually nothing to do with motherhood. It was a leadership course, and we had to find a list of just values and personality traits and write them down and pick your top 5. And then take basically a bird's eye view of your life and ask yourself if the values that you say you value, I know that sounds counterintuitive, but what you consider as your values, is that how your life looks like now? So a good example is if you tell me that your value is balance, but you are burned out and you are exhausted. And so while that's a value of yours, you haven't invested or even had the resources in your life to make that a possibility. So do you need to adjust your value set, or do you need to adjust the factors that contribute to that value set? So I hope that makes sense. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you need clarification on that. So that's your homework for today, is sit down, write down your values, and write down your why. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Those of you who know me know I am obsessed with Post-it notes. They're everywhere in my house, in my office really, but I have too many of them actually. I have them in many colors. So yeah, take a Post-it note, write down my why is blank, and my values, my top 3 values are blank, blank, blank. And then what I want you to do is just take inventory of your current situation and ask yourself if you're showing up as that person that you say you are. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be talking about mindfulness, and how to establish a mindfulness practice, what mindfulness is. And I'm excited because I did a mindfulness challenge at the beginning of the year, and I felt like I got really good feedback. And so I want to kind of talk a little bit about mindfulness because it's so important. And having a mindfulness practice has really, really, really changed who I am and how I show up for myself. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Have a great hump day. See you tomorrow. Bye.